Hey, welcome back to Real Builds. Yesterday was Let's Fix the Rad Support Day. Now, you'll recall from the previous video how bad the rust support was. And it was actually quite a performance. I am not horribly in practice on my welding, so that made it a challenge. We picked up a chunk of sheet metal and cut 2.5 by 8-inch long flat plates from it. From there, we positioned them carefully in place, welded each end, and then using ball peen and a couple of small hammers, formed them until they completely covered the damaged area. Now, before we did that, we cleaned out the damaged area. We got rid of all of the possible rust we could get at, hit it with a rust converter, cleaned it up, did a pretty nice job, and then started the process. So once the two tabs were welded in place and formed, it was time to do the welding. Now, I am not the greatest welder in the world with my flux core wire feed welder, not enough in practice. So it took a considerable amount of time and 3 passes on every edge. So it's not pretty, but it's strong. And you know, at some point in the future, maybe I'll go back and clean it up some more. But the important thing right now was to get ready to install the engine. And it's a good thing we did this repair ahead of time, because it was a messy, dirty process. It's something you can do. It's not, again, not brain surgery. It's patience and perseverance and keeping at it until you get her done. So that's what it looks like from this side, and it's not a bad repair. I'm not, as I said, completely happy with the welding, but you can see the rust is completely repaired. It's as strong as it was to begin with. It's a solid piece, just not necessarily as pretty as I would like it to be. But it's a good piece. And again, from this side, you can see the same thing. All the seams are welded to ensure that it's strong, it's sealed, it's painted. The factory drain holes are clear and in place. And again, once we're all done, we will be going back, drilling a couple of new drain holes and blowing this thing full of preservative again. So what kind of tools did we need to do it? Other than work lights, pretty much everything you see there. Wire wheels, sanders, drill, the hammers, of course, metal shears, no fancy stuff, just, again, hard work. So now that that's out of the way, we can get back here. And as you can see right now, all of the stuff needed to install the power package is in place. It's a matter of doing it. So I need to get a second person over to help me get this monster into place. And the reason's simple. You could do this by yourself, but working in a shop by yourself with something that weighs a few hundred pounds hanging on a chain is not the smartest plan in the world. So at a minimum, you need a safety person with you when you're doing stuff like this. In my case, you know, either my son or my wife will come out once I'm ready to go, and we'll shovel this little monster in. So, till we start putting in the engine, which will be a little later today, that's it from Real Builds. Okay, welcome back to Real Builds. So as you can see, we got the engine in, no big drama, just reversing the way it came out. And now we're in the process of getting the install done. Now she looks pretty good in there. And the engine bay itself looks quite good. We picked up a few little scratches and nicks along the way, but that's pretty normal. We'll touch those up. And now it's just reversing the procedure all the way through. What's interesting with these is they have 3 mounts. One at the front here. Okay, one at the very back. You got to really stare to see and one right under here. So it's a really securely fastened engine. But man, it was had to recruit my wife to give me a hand to do work the engine lift as we lifted it from the bottom and in. What's nice with a power package like this is everything's now in place. Once it's in, it's in. The alternator, starter, injection, everything was on the engine as it went in. So we don't have to do all those small, nasty things in the engine bay. So now I'll be spending the afternoon just tickling it together. And we'll probably talk to you tomorrow. I have to pick up some gear oil for the transmission, and I got to pick up some oil for the engine, and then we'll start thinking about firing it up. So until then, have fun from Real Builds. Okay, so as we come to the end of another session with Real Builds on Project Off the Shelf, you can see we made a lot of headway today. The basics are in place, engine's in, radiator is now in, everything's buttoned up, electrical connections are all made. I have to go over them again. We have to recheck all of the connections and bolts to make sure everything's correct. Now you get to see the air cleaner and you see how the whole package comes together. Even from the front, with all the touch-up painting and things that we've done, it makes a huge difference. And it's not hard. You can show the craftsmanship on your job as you go. And the big thing is for tomorrow will be, or tonight maybe yet, but probably tomorrow, we'll be assembling the front end, getting the axles and bits in, and then dealing with cleanup issues like the exhaust and getting all the fluids in place before we fire it up. So till then, have a great night. From Real Builds, the basics.